One Piece chapter 1156, it is titled Idols, and we got back-to-back color cover page, and I really enjoyed this one because it reminds me a lot of the Vice Captain's one that we got back in chapter 1031. This cover page, it has all the Straw Hats involved, but the main focus is Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, because in each position where the characters are located, you have the member of the Roger Pirates that they're supposed to parallel. On the far left, Zoro and Rayleigh are there, and then in the middle it's Roger and Luffy, and lastly on the right side is Sanji and Gabon. And technically, if you look at it where it's supposed to be flipped, the direction that they're facing, it's properly mirrored correctly, where Zoro's on the right hand and Sanji's on the left hand, the two wings of the Pirate King. Zoro and Sanji, they're real drippy here. I can't even lie. Sanji, he looks nice. Oda, he cooked with this one. But that out of the way, let's get into chapter 1156's breakdown. It was a random chapter, low-key, because we got some Kuja pirate lore, and I ain't complaining because Boa Hancock, she is one of my favorite characters in One Piece, and I feel like we don't necessarily know a lot about her and just the Kuja pirates in general. So it's really cool that we get to see them at this point in the story because it took place before Roger really took off and became the legendary Pirate King. Similar to when we were first introduced to Hancock, everyone was sitting up in here gooning and gawking at the Kuja pirates. The way that people are reacting to them, I think it puts into perspective just how trash Boa Hancock's devil fruit actually is. Imagine if someone like Blackbeard or Trouble, if they had the fruit, they ain't turning no one to stone, but because she's beautiful, it makes the devil fruit broken. If Gloriosa or Shakky, if they had the fruit, and specifically Shakky, oh, Roger, he wasn't going to be the Pirate King. My boy would have been cooked. One thing about the Kuja pirates, the Empresses, boy, are they arrogant. All of them walk like they're the baddest bees in the world, and I respect it. I love how Oda, he showcases wisdom with Gloriosa and how much she's developed, how much she's grown compared to when she was younger, because that's exactly how people act when they're young compared to when they get older. Gloriosa throughout Amazon Lily is constantly trying to preach wisdom or give advice to Hancock, but obviously because she's younger, she don't give a fluff. But guess what? Hancock, she ain't steal it, because that's exactly how Shakky and Gloriosa were. I did see some people talk about Tritoma because the younger version of her, she was in this one, and how she could be Luffy's mom because Shakky, Gloriosa, and Hancock, they fell in love with powerful men, Roger, Rayleigh, and Luffy. So Tritoma falling for someone like Dragon, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary, and I think it would be pretty cool. I mean, they smile the same, but two things. One, Oda, he talked about how Luffy's mom, we've already been introduced to her, and two, well, any new girl that pops up, we automatically assume is Luffy's mom. We gotta talk about Shakky because this woman, her popularity is off the charts. The Kuja pirates, they receive different fan letters, and Gloriosa, she bad. Like, let's not get it twisted. Gloriosa, she might be in my top 5 after looking at her young, her, Stussy, Shakky, Hancock. I gotta redo my list, but she's bad, and she received a lot of fan letters. She looks back, she's like, well, why the heck are there so many back there? And 100 times more fan levers are for Shakky, which is crazy because Shakky, she is the first mate, she's the vice captain, and she has 100 times more popularity than Gloriosa. I would love to see what their bounties are, or what their bounties were, because, well, I know bounties, they don't mean everything regarding like strength and all of that, but in terms of popularity, if she had motion like that, I assume Shakky's bounty's got to be higher than Gloriosa's. A pirate ship pulls up, and shockingly, it's the Roger pirates. They're here, they're trying to take Shakky and bring her a part of their crew. They pull up on the Kuja pirate ships, they're getting ready to board, and it did not go well. On a side note, the fact that Roger ignored a baddie like Gloriosa is crazy. I do want to mention Shakky was bad in her own right, but that's like, imagine having Lotto and Ash Cash in the same room, and you just disregard Lotto and you're going to Ash Cash. The disrespectfulness, tistyism of that, Not in my watch. I'm gonna have both of them. I need both of them. Compared to Gloriosa, Shakky just has a different type of arrogance, just a different type of orator. Instead of being more dignified, she's a little bit more of a tomboy, but regardless, she's still bad. I thought old Shakky was bad, and some of it has to do with the older style of animation, but don't get it twisted. Shakky in her old age, she's still beautiful. She's still a MILF, a GILF, whatever you want to call it. But her, when she was in her 20s, I can see why so many people sought after her. It was stated that in Shakky's presence, and I don't think I've ever seen someone get glazed to this degree, but in her presence, birds, they would lose their song, their ability to chirp. Flowers would wilt in her presence. People, they would turn against each other. That's how beautiful she was. She was also able to humble the mightiest of warriors. She one-shotted Gabon, one-shotted Roger. The only person that her heart was set on was Rayleigh. That boy, he had some nonchalant riz, because while everybody was sitting up here throwing themselves at Shakky, trying to give her flowers and everything, Rayleigh just chilling. She walks past and gives him a wink. Rayleigh's like, oh shoot, this is mine. With this all happening, I saw some people say that this confirms that Luffy and Hancock won't be a thing, because Roger, he ended up declining and denying Gloriosa, similar to how Luffy, he declined Hancock. At least he said that he wouldn't marry her. But well, this isn't to say that Roger wasn't interested in women, because number one, he had a child with Rogue, and then number two, he was madly in love with Shakky. With this, I think you gotta look at historical trends. One Piece is heavily inspired by Dragon Ball. Luffy and Goku, they have similar personalities. You look back at Dragon Ball, Goku, he ended up being friends with Bulma, similar to how Luffy was friends with Nami, and lo and behold, at the end of the series, Goku ended up marrying Chi-Chi, the girl that was madly in love with him. Even looking at other series in the big three with Naruto and Bleach, Hinata, she was obsessed with Naruto. In the end, she ended up marrying him. They had 2 kids. And same with Orihime. She was freaking in love and obsessed with Ichigo, got married, they have a kid. So if it happened with them, why can't it happen with Luffy and Hancock? But if you guys have made it this far into the video and you're enjoying the content, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. I pump out different One Piece content almost each and every day. After the Goon Fest ended, the Navy arrived, and you'll never guess who it is. It was Garp. It's like he has a tracker on Roger's ship, because whenever Roger is somewhere, Garp is right behind him. So instead of going after the Kuja pirates, and this was a hard decision because Shakky's too bad, but they decided on a new plan. They're going to crush the Navy. There is a dope panel of Garp and Roger saying that they're ready to fight, and they look exactly like Luffy and Ace here. Man, I miss those two as a duo. They attacked each other with named attacks, and I'd say this is the first time that we ever saw these two clash. Garp with his meteor fist and Roger with his rampaging spirit, punching Roger in the face, while Roger ended up slashing Garp in his stomach, both of them using advanced conquerors. It's always dope whenever we get to see these two in action, and like I said, I think that this is the first time that we've ever seen these two clash. I know so many people talk about the history between the two, but we've never actually seen it. And I don't necessarily think that this is prime, because technically this happened before the two rose to being legends. They talked about Roger, Garp, and Zebek being the legends of that pirate era, but they're still stronger than the old versions of themselves. So like I said, I'm not going to say that they're peak or in their prime. I think that version of them was definitely at God Valley. During this era, the Kuja pirates, they were at the height of popularity, and many of them saw them as idols, hence why the title. People would be gooning and creeping after these people, wanting posters that had their face on it, fetched high prices. People were stalking them, taking pictures, videos, whatever you want to call it. They were being creepy. Soon after this encounter, Shakky, she ended up becoming the new pirate empress, and her popularity soared even higher than it is now. And I assume based off of this, whenever Shakky became the new empress, that's whenever Gloriosa joined the Rocks Pirate. Got a little bit about Loki in this chapter. We know how much he looked up to Zebek, so any chance that he got whenever Zebek would arrive, he would try to go out to sea and it would never work. My boy, his plans, they would sink to the bottom of the ocean. In this particular instance, Harald was gone at Loki. He almost drowned because his ship capsized. And I love Ida here. She is worried about Loki because he's a child and she just has that motherly, caring personality. And she's like, man, Loki, I know that your mom is dead and your dad is never here. You know what you should do? You should come live with us. I think that would make you happy. And of course, Loki, who's never experienced love and never experienced just that motherly warmth, he's like, oh, you're using this as a trick. You're trying to, you know, be a gold digger and get in the castle. Nah, that ain't gonna work. So I love the two of them here because it's true to what they believe in. Loki hardened his heart knowing that people don't love him when in actuality they do, but because of his experiences, it's hard for him to realize that. And the Ida, like I said, being the warm, kind-hearted individual she is, she's been this way ever since we were first introduced to her. We cut to Hachinosu, and it's been a few months since the rock pirates took over this island. Because of their strength, because of their influence, there are so many different pirates and just different figures that are interested in joining the crew. And in this chapter, the biggest name is Kill the Wicked, aka Silver Axe, who was mentioned back in chapter 957 by Sengoku. And apparently it's confirmed in this chapter that Silver Axe and Shakky, they were rivals. I think a really cool detail is how Hachinosu was formed. We know in the current story that there are two eyeballs. At least that's what it looks like. And apparently this was done by Rocks because he wanted to get a view of the world. And he talks about two different devil fruits that are important in his quest to rule the world. I think this is very poetic because Blackbeard has two devil fruits, the Yami Yami and the Gura Gura. The two fruits that I think Xebec is talking about, one of them is unknown. I think that's probably the Gomu Gomu, especially with how legendary and just important that fruit is. It also could be the Yami Yami. Like I said, the whole Blackbeard Xebec relationship, it is a thing. But the other legendary fruit that is confirmed is none other than the one that is at Elbaph. We still know entirely what it is, but Xebec believes if he eats it, that he can truly unleash his power. Which brings a little bit more context to Harald's death, because people believe that Loki killed him in order to obtain the fruit. And if Loki did eat the fruit, and it's heavily implied that he did, him joining Luffy's crew, oh, they're going to be a problem. During this, we're introduced to other new members of the Rock Pirates. Obviously, we knew some of these people were here based off of God Valley, but based off of chapter 1155, they're new to us. So there's Big Mom, Strusen, Barbell, and Kaido. One thing about Kaido here is that he's green. Seeing a young Kaido compared to what he is now, how he is, people argue top 1 or top 2 strongest in this series. Seeing him get beat up here, it's pretty funny because, well, that's not the person we see now. We see this mighty figure that took so much to overcome. But he talks about the giants and he's like, hey, we can beat them into submission. Same with Harald. And the moment he brought that up, Xebec ended up kicking him. This man's weakness has to do with different people's boots, sandals. I don't know why, but that's just what his weakness is. Xebec reminds me so much of a mixture between Blackbeard and Luffy here, because maybe not to the same degree, but this is very similar to what Luffy would have done. Someone talked down or talked bad about his friend, and Xebec ended up punishing Kaido for it. The chapter ends with such a beautiful spread of the Rock Pirates and the entire crew, including those that we already knew like Shakky, Big Mom, and Whitebeard, all the way down to newer members that were introduced like Barbell, Don Marlin, etc. The one person that is missing here is Gloriosa, but based off of the lore that happened in this chapter, it appears that she didn't join them until probably recent events, or at least based off of the flashback, probably sometime closer to whenever they went to God Valley. Once again, it's mentioned that Elbaph is the key to bringing down the Holy Land, and this circles back to what Gunko talked about, how the importance of whoever has the giants on their side, that they will shift the tide of the final war. The Rock's pirates were insane. With all these people on the crew, oh, they definitely had the strongest crew in One Piece history, and it makes sense with so many conquerors, so many ambitious people that they had infighting, because nobody else could have defeated them. them. The only way they could have been defeated is by themselves. And I'm looking forward to whenever different characters like Shakky or like Barbell, when they're introduced to the current story, because they're strong and I want to see what they can do. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how you guys feel about chapter 1156 in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is on the screen in the description below. And don't forget to unleash your potential.